time for another Q&A. Let's do it. I'm doing these monthly, and if you don't know, I got these questions from the YouTube community tab post thing. I'm going to try and periodically get questions from different places, just so everybody has a chance to ask some questions, have some fun here. Also, shout out to some of you who have had my back so far via YouTube memberships or patreon.com/Jake Baldino. I've kind of soft launched that. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for helping me out. And thanks everybody for coming here and watching this. Let's just dive into your questions, because some of them are really good and some of them are really stupid, but that's not a bad thing. Costa Trianta says, do you collect games and hardware, or do you just own whatever you kept when you were younger? This hurts, man, because I very much recently have been feeling the pain of how I lived when I was younger as a consumer. I never had any money, and I was always kind of trading up for the next best thing. I still do it a little bit with some things, but not with games. But I had always sold things, always saved up money and cashed in things and ditched whatever old thing I had in favor of the new thing, and that meant I had nothing to go back to. So unlike a lot of people out there who have some of their old toys or, you know, their original PlayStation, Nintendo 64, NES, I don't. And it bums me out. But it was because I was always on to wanting to play the next thing, do the next thing. So I was always willing to just toss them to the wayside. You got to do what you got to do. I wanted to play games more than anything. I didn't really care where. I just wanted to play the games. I wanted to see the new things. So I was always trading up. And it bums me out because I don't have an old GameCube in my closet or a big old stack of vintage games that I've been collecting forever, or even toys. I miss a lot of my old toys. So now I'm kind of going back and just collecting what I like. I have a bunch of Metal Gear stuff. My Metal Gear collection is really big. One day, maybe I'll do a video somehow. But now that things are going all digital, it's not even like I can say like, hey, learn from me, learn your lesson, because, you know, as physical slowly dies, there's not really much of it. Like now I held on to my Xbox 360 and my PS3, but at this point, it's not as cool as having my old PS1 or NES or anything like that. I'm just an old man living with regret. Let's move on. Is Me Hype asks, also thanks for having my back on YouTube memberships, dude. I appreciate it. We always think about what big game would work as a movie, but I want to know, which indie game would you like to see turn into a movie? Bradley, Is Me Hype focuses around indie content, so of course he would ask this. This is cool. The first thing that immediately comes to mind, and is this like a cop-out because it's kind of a very big indie game, but Hotline Miami, that would make for really cool shorts, or like a limited run television show, or just an insane kind of A24 style movie. I would love to see something like that. Also, I'm just a big fan of this style of game, those adventure games, those linear adventure games like Limbo, Inside, Little Nightmares. If they could make a movie that feels like Inside, I would watch it. Do that. Unkempt Hawk asks, you made a video on WandaVision, so I think it's time we got another MCU update. What were your thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and Black Widow? Okay, yeah, real quick. I haven't had a chance to make videos on those. I wanted to, but things came up. First and foremost, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, pretty cool. At the time, I was really vibing with it. I love the Winter Soldier movie the most, so it was very up my alley in a lot of ways. I like Sam as Captain America. I like the way they sold it. I thought his costume looked a little goofy, but overall, pretty good, fun MCU type show. Not super memorable for me, but I like the way they nailed some things quite a bit. Black Widow, unfortunately, is again something that I thought was like pretty fun and entertaining, but a lot of it I think I might find forgettable. Some of the action, a really good car chase, I really enjoyed. But I also feel like other films got Black Widow better. It felt like a more interesting Black Widow who did cooler things in other things. It's almost like this movie where they could have really blown her out and explored her. They spent a lot of time with other characters and other elements, and I didn't mind that. I liked seeing Red Guardian in this type of wild interpretation of him. But I just like, this isn't like a revelation or anything, but I think like a lot of people, this movie would have been way more effective if it was somewhere else in the timeline and it came out like years ago. Also, Taskmaster, the fight scenes and the representation of the character in the suit, I thought were incredible, but story-wise and the character reveal, it just kind of felt like a little bit of a swing and a miss for me, and I'm just really disappointed that they potentially could have wasted another cool villain. The MCU keeps doing that. Also, Loki is tight. It's like seems to be divisive, and I'm surprised that the show is divisive, but I like the way it, with WandaVision, seems to go towards setting things up in the future. Shout out to Jonathan Majors as Kang, or not technically really Kang yet, but I'm excited to see where that goes. I love that whole scenery chewing thing so much that they did, and I'm really genuinely surprised the show is returning for a season 2, and what I'm excited about is that I have no idea what the hell they're going to do with that. Ania Corleone says, how do you feel about the direction that Ubisoft is taking? Stuff like Assassin's Creed Infinite and Tom Clancy X Defiant. I have a lot of tolerance for Ubisoft games. I still manage to try some of them and find some enjoyment out of some of them here and there, but that is starting to wane. With something like Assassin's Creed Infinite, it sounds bad on paper, but we don't know the full story yet. I think if they're rethinking how they put these games out and how they do expansions and stuff like that, and if they can connect it in some cool big Animus thing or like a Brotherhood thing, I would love that, but that's an old fan talking, and they might not even want to do that. I'm really glad that people really liked Valhalla and stuff like that, but personally, I wasn't super into it, so I don't know. I'm still willing to just give everyone a shot because I love Assassin's Creed, so that's fine. But then other moves like the X gonna give Tom Clancy's X Nightmare, whatever the Tom Clancy's A New Nightmare. I think with stuff like that, I saw the X Defiant gameplay, and it just makes me sad more than anything. I don't have gamer rage. Like, I'm not like another Call of Duty ripoff. I'm just like, man, that's what they felt like they had to make. They had to spend resources. They had to go like, oh, well, we don't have a Call of Duty, so we need to make one. We tried Hyperscape, which I thought was at least kind of creative, but it seemingly didn't attach on like they wanted. Nobody really talks about that anymore. So they decided that they had to make this thing. And it's usually unlike me to judge things early. I don't always have a knee-jerk like, ugh. But I don't know, man. It's just a bummer that they're going that route. I feel like they could have taken that money and made, I don't know, anything else. I think the world has enough of these style of games. And I'm not even saying, I'm not someone who dislikes those games. I play a lot of them and I try a lot of them. And every once in a while I get hooked on them. But like, relax on them. Big Bean 69 asks, have you ever had an awkward experience while playing video games? Almost all the time. Anytime there's a sex scene in a game, I'm having an awkward experience by myself, man. There's not really many good video game sex scenes, and I just never feel good about watching them or playing them. So it's like in a movie, a good sex scene, you're like, yes, very interesting. Meanwhile, every time there's a sex scene in a game, I'm like, and God forbid somebody walk in on you, your spouse, your mom, your dad, and then you have to explain, no, it's art, there's character development. And I've actually had an awkward experience anytime I try and explain a game to anybody. I remember one of my parents watching me play Uncharted, and they were like, why does he climb like a crazy monkey? That doesn't make any sense how he can climb like that. And I was like, it's cool, and it's fun, and I couldn't explain it. And that's why I don't play video games with my parents. Randy Kimball 13 asks, would you ever dabble in non-gaming content? For this channel, I'm diving a little bit more into what I want to. Sometimes I talk about a movie or a show or whatever. So that's me kind of doing that. The only thing I like other than games is movies and other types of media. I'm just this endlessly consuming blob. That being said, I like traveling. I don't travel a lot, but when I do, I really, really enjoy it. Also, I'm a big fan of DeLoreans and like reading about them and watching everything and going on the forums and being in that DeLorean community. Yes, that is a thing. Like that's like my obsession. That's not very exciting to a lot of you, but I mean, I'm wearing the shirt. I'm a big fan. It's my dream car. Maybe one day I would do DeLorean videos. I'm not even like a super technical, like super smart car guy, but I don't know. If I could find a way to make it fun, Who knows? Brett Williamson asks, why haven't you played Final Fantasy XIV? Do you want to know the honest question? I want to so bad. I don't have any time. And that's a hard thing to come to grips with as a player of video games. You know, there's always the sense that there's always going to be something out there. You always want to see and play as much as you can. And knowing that there's something as huge and as beloved as Final Fantasy XIV, an MMORPG in a property, in a franchise that I love Final Fantasy so much. And I used to love MMOs, but I just know I have no time to ever put into this. It's like I have to like laugh it off because I'm like, there's no way. Between just other games I want to catch up on, games that I'm playing for work, and just life and everything else I do, because like, you know, making videos and work and everything takes time. I just know it's probably a long shot that I'm gonna have a chance to play it, and that's like kind of me, like acceptance, like coming to grips with that fact, and it is a bummer, especially because I really like some MMOs. I think the last one I got super into was Guild Wars 2 and The Secret World. Remember that one? The artist formerly known as Bill says, do you prefer waffles or pancake? I like that pancake is singular. I prefer pancake. Thank you. Timmy Turner, shout out to him. What direction do you think Mafia 4 should take? This is like a pretty reductive answer. Like I'm just pulling something else out, but Mafia has done like the early, old Model T cars, the Prohibition, the Tommy gun stuff in Mafia 1, the post-World War II type of Mafia stuff in Mafia 2, and then like a 60s, 70s type of completely different vibe. And I still really appreciate, despite the gameplay, in Mafia 3. I actually would like them to kind of continue with that and do more of a Goodfellas angle. Take the Mafia 3 time period, the vibe, the style, but do it on the East Coast. You see what I'm getting at here? I think that could be awesome. Indigo Sonata asks, hi Jake, do you read comics? Yes, comics are pretty much like the only thing I do read as of pretty much like a really long time. I read books occasionally, but most of the time it's comics, it's graphic novels, it's collections. Most recently, right now I'm rereading All-Star Superman. And just before that, I read Kingdom Come for the first time ever because I really like Alex Ross art. That was like a recent DC kick, but I pretty much read everything. I try to read some more indie comics here and there, not just the Marvel DC stuff, but I do just really love Marvel and DC and all of that. I love some of my favorite characters, just endlessly reading new ways that they are reinterpreted. Also, what's been scratching the itch for me, if we're just talking big, expensive corporation products, the Star Wars comics have really fucking been hitting. The Darth Vader comics are awesome. Maybe one day I'll make more videos about comics. I don't know. That's a possibility. Thank you for the idea. Gary King, nice username. Gary King asks, who would you cast for the new Indiana Jones game as well as the James Bond game? Here's the deal, dude. Indiana Jones game, get Harrison Ford. If you don't know, right now, currently, they're shooting the next Indiana Jones movie, and they're dragging out Harrison Ford again, and they're putting tracking dots on him. And there's a lot of speculation that they're going to de-age him for certain scenes and stuff like that. And like, at this point, I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? But on the flip side, I think video games are the perfect place to do that. In movies, it can still be stilted and awkward, even though Marvel's technology specifically has really come a long way. Video games, it's perfect. You can take Harrison Ford and just make young Harrison Ford as a character model and put him in his prime and put him in a new Indiana Jones adventure in the time period. And it would work really well. That's what I want. That's what I think they should do. As for James Bond, I love James Bond. They're going with a new James Bond for this IO Interactive game, completely new one for this game. So I would actually like them to just get some fucking nobody, like some no-name person, some guy. It would be really cool for them to just dig someone up, take the time to really find someone, not cave to public pressure or agents and celebrities lobbying for the role. I would love to just see what they could come up with. Or Idris Elba. I'm very much in that camp. I think Idris Elba would make a really cool Bond. Brian Trainer asks, tell us a hobby or interest of yours that we don't know about. I really like cooking. I'm not the best. I'm still very much learning, but I enjoy doing it. It gives me peace, so to speak. Also, I have a dog now. I have a puppy, and that takes a lot of time. So I've been really enjoying raising this young man. His name is Boston. We rescued him, and he is great, and I love him. I have very much struggled, though, with trying to find hobbies other than video games. Because it is my job, there needs to be some separation. I need to find other things to put my time into. And I've really struggled with it. So I'm still working on that. That's like an ongoing battle. Ahmad Khalif asks, since it's still COVID season, which country would you like to travel to after COVID settles? Yeah, I don't know what the laws are with every country because things are changing like every day still. But I'm looking forward to going to Iceland. I think that's the first place I'm going to go. It seems pretty easy to plan. I really like the look of it. I really like everything I've read about Iceland, the food, the culture, just the water, the nature there. I'm in, so hopefully soon. Law school sucks, let's go skate. Another just top tier username. You seem like a laid back, positive guy. I'd always give fair oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you do anything in your personal life to maintain your positivity and open-mindedness, i.e. meditation, regular exercise, listen to certain podcasts or creators? Weird question, but I think people could benefit from experience you'd like to share. Two things really for keeping positivity in gaming, especially when there's so rampant not positivity. For me, it was just being younger, being cynical, and angry about everything, and it affecting my mental health. So the positivity thing is not just for gaming, but it's kind of just been like a course correction. It's not forced now, it's natural, but it was something that I did have to pursue for a while. And I am better for it, and I've been having a lot of fun trying to put that back out into the world in some game rank stuff, in all my stuff here. And so far, so good. And also the other thing, how I maintain the positivity almost is it's not good, but like I take the gaming stuff personally, like the gaming discourse and some of the, obviously some things, being mad at microtransactions, being mad at the way companies handle certain things, I absolutely totally agree with. But there are other things where people just dislike a game for me, a seemingly ridiculous reason, or just like real vitriol and hatred around a game or a person or anything like that. That stuff, because I love games so much, I tend to take it personally, and that's not good and not healthy, but it helps me kind of fight back and realize and like kind of invigorate what I'm doing and just like fighting back with positivity and looking for the good in certain things. Not shilling, not glossing over things, but just trying to help and trying to look at the good stuff. Hung Do asks, if there's a character you'd have a chance to voice act for any franchise, who would it be? So my voice is annoying. I've been told I sound kind of like Jesse Eisenberg, but with a little bit more of like a New York accent. I've heard all kinds of horrible things about my voice. I do agree that my voice is a little high, a little all over the place and kind of annoying. I would really like to voice act Otacon. I think obviously there's no replacement for Hal Emmerich's voice actor, of course, but I feel like I could do a good spin on that. I feel like I have a natural Otacon vibe. Like, I'd love to be like, yeah, Marcus Phoenix, but no, I can't. This user, who I respect you, I do not want to butcher your name, but thank you for your very good question, asks, what's your goals with your YouTube or your work? Kind of like what I said before, positivity, but really the thing I've been hammering home, especially with like before you buy videos and on game ranks and over here, is finding good and constructive ways to talk about games, where even if there's something that you don't like in a game, learning the language and learning the way to properly dissect and talk about it to articulate why you don't like something, I believe actually strengthens and helps you realize and really appreciate the aspects of a game that you do like, if that makes sense. So I'm just trying to improve the discourse, so to speak. I get offended when people just say something is trash, because it's like such a blanket throwaway statement. It means nothing. It tells people nothing. It explains nothing. You don't get benefit from learning about like what. There's nothing to it. So I've been really trying to just help put out speaking about games, and not in a pretentious like English major way or like a massive long form written review, but just how people talk. One of my favorite things that some of you guys have ever said to me in comments is like, I feel like I'm just talking to someone about a game at work or something. And like, that's what I'm going for, because that's what I do. I'm that guy who hears that you like a game, and then I'm insufferable and annoying, and I want to tell you 30 other things about it. And you're like, all right, that's what I'm going for. And fun. Drew of Earth asks, have you ever done open mics? No. I love stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is another one of actually my favorite little things that you probably didn't know. I love the history of it. I love the greats. I love just endlessly re-listening ever since I was a kid. I have so many favorite stand-up comedians. I love comedians talking about their craft, all of that. I've always wanted to do it, but I know I probably can't. I'm not very good at public speaking. I know it takes practice. I don't know. I really appreciate the craft. There's so much to it, and I respect it enough to stay away from it, because I think too many people are like, hey, I'm funny, let me do it. And it's it's so much more than that. Josh Castro asks, have you ever featured on a podcast or collaborated with others outside of Game Ranks? Dude, yes. I do stuff with my friends at GameSpot. I also have appeared on various podcasts. Recently, I was on the DLC podcast with Jeff Kanata. I've done stuff with Austin Evans. I've done stuff with Marquez Brownlee, which is still crazy to say that I've been able to like do stuff with those awesome dudes. Like, that's crazy. But I do just do way more out there. So keep your eyes peeled. So that wraps up another Q&A, the monthly Q&A. Thank you for your questions. Pretty good. Pretty spicy stuff. Maybe we can go even spicier next time. I'll dig for some more questions. So thank you. If you enjoyed hanging out with me here, clicking the like button does help, but I really actually want to hear from you guys in the comments. Some of your hot takes on some of my opinions, or some of your own answers to some of these questions, like if you've ever done an open mic session, or what your favorite hobbies are, or how you stay positive in gaming. Definitely let me know those things. I think that's fun. It's a good conversation to be had. But thank you for watching. Thank you for clicking the like button. Thank you for supporting me anywhere, whether it's through just watching or Patreon or YouTube memberships. Thank you for being here. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.